Welcome to another episode of Business with Passion. Each show features guests who have transformed their long-term passion into a successful business. I'm your host, Jay Hamilton Roth. My marketing strategy business grew from my love of talking with passionate business owners. In this series, I share their passion with you. So if you're looking for inspiration to enhance your business passion, keep watching.
It's so funny, people ask me about my long-term passion and I say, you know, it's running. And it might be trivial to people, but it's my hardwiring. It's what I love to do. I love to run. I love to run long distances. So I, at a point, said, you know what, I'm just going to follow my heart, do what I love, and somehow make a go of it. I had no idea how, but you know, a decade later, I'm happier than I've ever been in my whole life.
How about this? We got a man on the show tonight who has written this book. It's called Ultra Marathon. Dean Karnazes is the guy's name.
Yeah.
And he has not only run marathons, but he's run like hundreds and hundreds of miles. Now, to run a marathon is 26 point, how many miles? 26.3 miles? 2 miles.
26.2.
Yeah, and that is an unbelievable, that's the accomplishment of a lifetime. Not for this guy. When he goes out for a run, he won't be back till Thursday. And he's put all of his accounts and experiences of running marathon distances and longer in this book right here. And when he comes out here, first of all, I'm sure he'll be sweaty.
Well,
because he's probably not even here yet. He's running down from Albany.
On his way.
He's on his way down from Albany. He's running, and he'll be here.
You know, there are organized 100-mile runs, and there's one that's 135 miles long. But this 200-mile run is a relay race, a 12-person relay race. It's not a single-person race. Mm-hmm. And I just asked if I could do it by myself, as one person.
So you competed against other actual teams, but as your own team by yourself.
Yeah.
Wow. And how did you do with that?
You know, I don't want to belittle the other teams, but I beat a couple of them.
Well, what is it about this that you enjoy?
The pain. I mean, I like pain.
Really? And are you ever able to get to a point where the chemicals in your system have just taken you to a different place and level in your athletic pursuit? Does that happen?
It happens. You know, you get a runner's high, as you will, and sometimes it can last for 2 or 3 weeks after a 200-mile run.
Yeah. Injuries? Have you ever been injured running?
No. Is this real wood? Because I've never been injured, and I need to knock on something like wood. No injuries.
And what about eating during a race 200 miles long?
I usually carry a cell phone and a credit card, and I stop along the way, and if I'm in a remote area, I've ordered pizza before, I just have them delivered to me. They bring it to you out on the road.
As you're out on the race route, they'll bring you a pizza.
You tell them where you're going to be and about the approximate time, and they'll deliver pizza.
You know, my mom was she loved to put me in a stroller, she said, when I was an infant, and just walk around the city. Just walk all day, be outside and explore. And I think she impassioned me with this desire just to explore, to never stop exploring, this constant wanderlust. And I think that's kind of where this all started from. You know, I started running home from kindergarten. That's my earliest recollection of running. We had a third child in the family. I was the oldest, and my mom was having a hard time getting me back from school. I remember with this newborn in the house. My dad had 2 jobs. He worked constantly. So I said, Mom, you don't have to worry about getting me home anymore. I'll just run.
When Dean was little, he was going to kindergarten, and we had 2 other children, a brand new baby, and he felt really that his mother shouldn't have to come and pick him up with the children, so he started running home. On the way home, he would pick flowers and pick strange things and weeds and bring them to me, and he's very adventurous, always as a child, but he was fast.
Found that I loved to run, and I ran all the way through cross country in high school, and then I just basically hung up my running shoes, if you will. I didn't run for 15 years. I kind of repressed this passion, this love I had of running, to do other things, and then I found myself in a bar, of all places, on my 30th birthday, doing what we do on our 30th birthday, and I walked out of the bar at 11 at night and said, you know what, tonight I'm going to run 30 miles to celebrate my 30th birthday. I'm going to reclaim my life at this point, and it's just been tremendous ever since. You know, kids always ask me, you know, who's the best runner? And I tell them, you know, the one who's having the most fun. So I do what I love, and personally that's long-distance running, endurance running, as they say. ultra marathoning. And in Latin, ultra means beyond. So an ultra marathon is defined as anything beyond a 26.2 mile marathon. And that's what I love to do. I love to run 100 miles at a time, 200 miles. Once I ran 300 miles continuously for 82 hours, really pushing the limits of human endurance and of human spirit. And that's just what I love to do. It's my passion. I certainly enjoy racing. I do a lot of racing, but my passion is really just exploring the limits of human endurance and doing these long, long multi-day runs. One of my earliest recollections was, of course, running home from kindergarten, and I just loved to run further and further. I'll never forget, on my 14th birthday, I was doing a fundraiser at our school, and we were collecting money for charity for running laps around a track. And we got people to pledge usually $1 per lap. Most kids ran, at best they ran 10 laps, which, around a track that's about 2.5 miles. Well, I ran a marathon, 108 laps. And I'll never forget going door to door and saying to people, well, you owe me $108. So I went through college, I then went through graduate school, and then I went and got a business degree. And I was in corporate America. I was working for a large multinational firm as the vice president of marketing. And I was bored senseless. I hated it. There was no challenge. It wasn't me. It wasn't where I belonged. So I said, I'm going to turn running into my living. I don't know how. I know I can't just win races and expect people to pay me and make a living that way. I'm going to have to do some other things. And for me, those other things have included writing a book, a couple books actually, which have been surprise bestsellers, to me mostly surprised, as well as I do a lot of public speaking about the crossover between business and the lessons from athletics. So I do a lot of public speaking. I have some great sponsors, one being a company called The North Face. I've done some innovative footwear design with them, so I have some licensing and sponsorship deals. And I've been able to cobble it together. I mean, certainly I might be making a better living, quote unquote, if I was in corporate world and in finance, but I don't think I'd be nearly as happy. My business today, it's funny. I mean, what do? I told my kids I drop them off at school and then I go watch MTV all day. But my business today, it's a matter of balancing a number of initiatives I have, which include things like footwear development. I work with a great Bay Area company called The North Face, and we together collaborated to come up with a shoe that had no laces. These are stainless steel cables, and instead of having a tie a lace, which is very archaic, you use this twist tab, and that's how you tighten your shoe. You pop that out, and that's how you loosen it. And that's called a BOA lacing system. So it's a royalty deal with the North Face. I've been very satisfied with the relationship there. Also through books and DVD sales, that's a revenue stream for me. And it's all kind of flows very organically. I mean, I'm not a big sales guy, if you will. I just, if people enjoy my stuff, they tend to spread the word themselves, and that's kind of the way I like it. I just figure I'll do the best job I can, and hopefully people will enjoy it, and it's worked out. I mean, I always say to people, if it's something that you love to do, you will do it well. Even if it's basket weaving, I mean, be the best darn basket weaver there is. I mean, throw your soul into it, your heart, and your motivation, and it'll be fulfilling. So do what you love, and you're always better at it.
Dean Karnazes has done what few people have thought is humanly possible. He's run 262 miles non-stop, that's 10 marathons back-to-back without rest, and he's run 146 miles across Death Valley in the middle of summer where temperatures reach 130 degrees. He's run a marathon to the South Pole in negative 40-degree temperatures, and on several occasions, he's run a 200-mile relay race solo, racing alongside teams of 12.
Most people, when they hear that I've run 100 miles, the most frequent reaction I get is, I didn't know human beings could do that. I only sleep a few hours a night, and on a good night it's maybe 5 hours. I don't advocate this for everyone because I don't think it's right for everyone. It just kind of seems right for me. I mean, the first month of doing this was brutal. I was an insomniac during the day. But I found after about a month, your body adapts. And now those 4 to 5 hours of sleep, I get a really solid, good sleep. Before I used to sleep, 7, 8 hours, but some of that was restless stirring. Now it's 4 concentrated hours, and I'm up and at it. Yeah, but I don't advocate it for everyone. It's just, maybe it's hereditary. My dad only sleeps about 4 or 5 hours a night. Yeah, you know, people say, what's your daily routine like? And I mean, what I love to do is get up at 3:30 in the morning, go for a run, kind of a long one, maybe ideally a marathon, and come home, and I fix breakfast for my kids every day that I'm home in Marin, not traveling around the world, and I take them to school every day, so that's very important to me. So run a marathon, fix breakfast for them, get them to school, come home, do some work, go for a shorter kind of a speed workout in the afternoon, maybe an hour, and then be home when they get home to be there for them, to fix dinner with them, to do their homework. I have no social life whatsoever, but it's wonderful. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm a very introverted person by nature. I think most runners are, and I get very overwhelmed just by the daily bombardment of noise that we get. I mean, the ads that are coming toward us, the radio, commercials, television. It's just, to me, it's kind of overwhelming, and I just need some time on my own just to make sense of it all, to think it through. So if I've got an hour or so, I will go for a quick run and kind of just make sense of the world. So when I come back through those doors and I'm at home, I'm there for my family. I've kind of worked through the issues of the day, and I'm 100% there for them. If I go on a longer run, 6, 7, 8-hour run, which I love to do, a lot of times I carry a digital recorder, and I record as I run, and that's kind of how I wrote both my books. I mean, I go out on these long runs, and I just dictate into this digital recorder. I mean, I couldn't figure out when else I was going to write a book, but I found that I did some of my clearest thinking when I was out running. I had some of my best, most poignant thoughts when I'm out there by myself, so I would just record those. The other thing, I used to love to read. I was just a very avid reader as a kid, and when you start training for endurance sports, you don't have that kind of time. Now with my iPod, I download audiobooks, so I've listened to some great books recently, so I do a lot of listening on the run as well. People ask me, we've heard about this, you falling asleep while you run, and it's the most bizarre thing. It's happened to me a couple times. I've woken up running down the middle of the road, and I thought, hold, I know better than to be in the middle of the road. So I'd kind of meander back over to the shoulder, and I'd wake up again running down the middle of the road, and I was just willing my body to keep going, but I was actually sleeping while I was running. And the most bizarre element is when you wake up, you're kind of refreshed, like, it was a nice little cat nap. So I think the human body is kind of a remarkable machine. Well, it's funny, after this happened to me, I got an email from a guy, and he said, I read the story, and you're not actually asleep. You're in this transcendental, kind of a meditative state, and I can work with you on this. And I thought, oh, have I entered the twilight zone? I mean, what's going on here? And so I emailed him back, and he said, no, I was Bruce Lee's trainer, and Bruce Lee used to train like this, and I can train you to do this kind of meditative, zombie meandering and wake up rejuvenated, as though you just took a nap. You could run 8, 9, 100, 1,000 miles. There's no stopping you. And I've stopped returning his emails. That to me is crazy. Yeah. The trade-off is being able to stay in top physical form so that I can perform up to the caliber I want to and compete competitively with a pretty elite group, as well as make a living doing what I'm doing. I mean, that's the biggest trade-off. I mean, with a sport like basketball or baseball, the big three, the infrastructure's in place. If you're a good high school player, you'll get a scholarship to college. If you're a good college player, you get drafted into the pros. So the procession is pretty clean cut, pretty clear. I mean, it's certainly competitive, but at least you know the rules of engagement. And if you make it that high, you're pretty much taken care of. And doing what I do, I got to piece it all together myself, which means managing business interests as well as athletic interests, and that's been a juggling act. But again, when you love what you're doing, your energy is just boundless. So I love the challenge. I look forward to getting up every morning and running strong. The one thing that the media tends to focus on all my great successes. Boy, you've been a New York Times best-selling author. You're a record-holding athlete. You've done this, you've done that. I wish one time the media would say, tell us about your failures, because you never really hear about a person they consider to be great, their failures. And I will tell you, I have failed spectacularly. I love failure. I embrace failure. I think failure is the best opportunity to learn of anything. And I think so many people are afraid of failure that they live in concealment. I mean, they don't ever push their limit because they're afraid of failing. And I say, until you fail, you don't ever know how far you can go. So I always encourage people, go out and fail and embrace it and learn from it and grow bigger and stronger because of it. So one day I'm going to ask someone in the media, just highlight all my tremendous failures, because there's been a laundry list of them, and I'm proud of them. I love to run, and it's my thing, but I'm not that naive to the fact that it might not be everyone's thing. And I always encourage people to get up, get active, find something they love. If you don't love it, you're not going to stick with it, let's face it. For a lot of us, it's running, and I think running, the barriers to entry are very low. What do you need? A pair of shoes and a pair of shorts. So I think it's a wonderful sport. I think that people ought to sign up for an event. I mean, people say, how do I get into it? What do I do? I say, take that leap of faith. Sign up for your first event, be it a 10K, half marathon, whatever. Sign up for it. Even if it's a 5K, it's your first time you're ever going to run a race, sign up for an event, and then you've got this deadline looming. And when you want to sit back on the couch and have a beer and pizza after work, you think, oh, I've got this 5K signed up for, I got to get out there and train. And go one step beyond that. Tell all your friends and family you're going to do this thing. So now you've got that collective pressure on you. As well, do it for a charity. Do it for something that you feel strongly about, and fundraise for a charity. Now you've got the whole weight of this charity behind you, and you've got a mission that you've got to accomplish. So I tell people, just take that leap of faith, go online, sign up for the event, and the rest will follow. People say, when are you going to stop doing these crazy things that you do? And I tell people, my finish line is a pine box. I'm going to keep going as long as I can. As long as the fire's still there, as long as there's still passion in my heart for doing this, I'm going to keep going to the best of my ability. I mean, if I wake up one morning and I don't love it anymore, I'll find something else. But right now, the fire is burning strong, and I feel like I'm actually getting stronger as I get older. My endurance is improving. My speed is coming down. I'm getting slower, but I seem to have better and better endurance. I'm sure there'll be a point of diminishing returns, but I'm going to keep exploring the limit until I hit that point. And I mean, I was just at the Napa Valley Marathon this past weekend, and you see people, guys and women, in their 60s, 70s, even 80s running marathons, and they look great. I mean, you compare them with their counterparts that aren't runners, that have hip problems, that can't move, back problems. These guys and women are out there going strong, so I figure if they can do it, it's just a great inspiration for me to follow in their footsteps. I'm very concerned about the state of health of our nation, and I mean physical health. I mean, we have a third of our kids are either overweight or obese, and that represents 25 million kids. I mean, that's our future, and they're so out of shape. And so I've started a foundation called Karno Kids. My friends truncate my last name, Karnazes, and they just call me Karno. So I started Karno Kids, and our mission is to inspire, energize, and motivate our youth to get outside and to get active. And we do a lot of fundraising and a lot of activities toward raising money for organizations that support our mission. Girls on the Run is one organization we fund very heavily. What Girls on the Run does is they replace physical education in schools that physical education has been removed from the curriculum, which is most public schools these days. They replace that with a running program, an after-school running program, targeting inner-city at-risk youth girls. And not only does it teach them about running, but it teaches them about camaraderie, about self-esteem, about sticking to something and actually completing something. At the end of a 10-week training program, they actually complete a 5K run. And to some of these girls, it's the most emotional moment of their life. I mean, these are 10, 11, 12-year-old girls from the hood, and they're crying when they cross that finish line. Because it's the first time they've seen that if they commit, they sacrifice, they dedicate, there's a reward. They can cross that finish line. We put a medal around their neck, we give them a big certificate, and it's a lesson that translates over into life for years and years to come. So I'm very dedicated to Karno Kids and getting kids outside, getting them active. I think it's good for the health of our country, and I think it's good for the environment as well. I spent 15 years of my life in San Francisco, and I love the energy and the pulse of the city, but I recently moved over here with my family to Marin, and we just couldn't be happier. It's such a great community, such a feeling of family and belongingness and togetherness. I mean, I let my kids ride their bikes to school and go off on their own on the weekend, which is something I would never allow them to do in San Francisco. And to me, it's kind of like the feeling I had when I was a kid. I didn't feel concerned about things. I wasn't worried or afraid of things. I could just go explore during the weekend. So it's been a great move over to Marin. People say, if you couldn't run, what would you be doing? And I say, I'd be driving my family crazy. I know that. But I don't know. I think, I've never been a very intellectual guy, so I've always been very physical. And I don't know what I would do. I mean, if I couldn't run, I would probably do something physical to the best of my ability, whatever that might be. So I'm a California guy through and through. I love to mountain bike. I love to windsurf, to surf, to rock climb, to snowboard. I just love outdoor sports, and that's what I live for. Well, I always encourage people to look in their heart. I mean, I would say that probably 95% of the people out there are not doing what they love. They're not happy. They're not satisfied with their jobs. And I say, you know what? You've got a passion in there. I know you do. And, like I said, if it's basket weaving, then commit to basket weaving. Be the best darn basket weaver there is. Throw your heart and your soul into it and your passion, and, pursue it with heartfelt intensity. And you'll find reward in it. It's amazing the things people have come up with when they look inside and say, that's what I really love to do, and that's what I'm going to do. I don't want to be a secretary. I don't want to work at a fast food joint. It doesn't do it for me. You see just this life in people. They come alive when they're doing what they love. The funny thing is, people would say, if money was no object, what would you do? And my sincere answer is, I'd be doing the exact same thing I'm doing. And I think that should be the same thing for everyone. I mean, to ask that question, if money was no object, what would you be doing? And if you can't look yourself in the mirror and say, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now, then I encourage you to go do exactly what it is you want to do.
Sure, it's about running, but mostly it's about life.
Thanks for watching this episode of Business with Passion. If you'd like more information about Dean Karnazes, other shows, or perhaps to be a guest on a future show, go online to tv.manygoodideas.com.